Brandon Faust, Mold Zero, also doing a great job for us in educating consumers about this silent killer that is mold. In Florida, with our humidity and our weather down here, this is something you better get educated on. Homeowner, renter, doesn't matter. If this is in your house, you need to take care of it. What are some of the myths about this, Brandon?
I think the biggest one that we hear a lot is, look, I just sprayed it down with bleach, and that's going to handle it. And the biggest problem with that is that you basically are aerosolizing the spores, because when you attack it, it's not that you're not going to get rid of some of it, but you are going to agitate it, and it's going to go into defense mode, and it's also going to go into hyper replication mode. Mm-hmm. So, for example, when we do our treatment and we do air samples 3 minutes into our treatment, it exponentially goes up. One place we treated, it was 6,000 per cubic meter, and then we started the treatment, it went up to 980,000.
Because that initial reaction is, uh-oh.
Yeah, exactly. So it goes into like a mold explosion.
Right.
So you really don't want to hit it with bleach. You're going to have it backfire on you.
And you can't see the harmful effects, right? What you're wiping away with a towel or a rag is not what you're breathing in.
Not at all. You're talking about something that's microscopic,
right.
So you don't want to do that. The next thing is that, hey, it's not a toxic mold. Don't worry about it, right? Truthfully, every type of mold that's out there is not particularly one that you want in your home, right? But it does matter on the level. So depending on the type of mold, there are certain levels that are acceptable and others that are not. So you really do need to get a professional to look at it. But truthfully, even that professional has to take into consideration the person that they are working for, right? Because some person might be extremely sensitive. Their immune system might be hyperactive, and then they go into a full-blown, attack that somebody else, they can be in there and it's totally fine.
So an infant, a senior versus somebody who's 25 years old, perfect health, different reactions.
And an infant is going to breathe so many more breaths than an adult, right? So they could have a bigger impact. Like my son, when he was a month old, he was having a really hard time breathing, and what I found was that, yes, we had mold growing in the room where the actual AC was pulling. We had a leak because my mom had come to visit, so that air was blowing around the house, impacting my son. We did the treatment, and then the next night he slept an hour longer and had no difficulty breathing.
How about that?
So also, hey, don't worry about it. Every home has mold. Yes, there's truth. Every home in Florida does have mold, but you also have to make sure it's at an acceptable level. The other one that you hear that kind of goes along with that is, hey, don't worry about it. It's just that old Florida smell, right? Well, that old Florida smell translates into, hey, that's musty. And if that's musty pretty much means mold.
Right.
So if you're smelling it at that level, that's absolutely a red flag and something that you want to get samples done on, or you want to do a deeper dive on that somehow and find the actual mold itself. For example, my wife and I were looking at a spot for her business that she was opening yesterday, and as soon as I walked in, I was like, it smells moldy in here, okay? And the real estate agent almost started laughing at me, thinking, oh, you're just paranoid, right?
Right.
Well, yeah, give me 2 minutes, and I walk over into the corner, and I found a bunch of black mold, up in the corner up there, like zero question about it, undeniably black mold. And that's something that, you're going to want to walk away from, or at least make sure it gets handled before you inherit somebody else's problem. So the other one is that, hey, you have to tear it out, You don't always have to tear it out. It depends on the type of mold. Some of it can be just surface mold, and depending on how impacted the material is, you're going to do a wipe down and then a whole home sanitization and make sure that the airborne spores are taken care of. But yes, again, if it is a water mold or a toxic mold like that, it's actually impacted the material. Yeah, you're going to want to remove that impacted material.
Back to that detective thing with Brandon is, say he discovers it and they get into the wall and he's got to open the wall. That is getting rid of the affected material, but we have to find out why that spot got the way it is. Yeah. So in addition to just replacing the wall material that he's going to rip out, and he's got to figure out like a detective, how did it get here so we can close down this access point?
Absolutely. So we were talking about that at our morning meeting. We have a morning meeting every day where we go over with the inspectors and the actual techs, or the estimators, right? And one of the places that we had basically started doing the removal of the contaminated material, they did not know where the water source was, right? And it wasn't until we kept going on the removal where we were actually able to find the source. And it was actually from a leak from a condo up above, right? And finally, with that, now the actual cause of it, you're able to stop it, and then you're able to really solve the problem. So sometimes it's really necessary that you do remove the actual material. And that's where it depends on what type of mold, so that you can then make that judgment.
If you talk to builders down here, they'll tell you the combination of wind and weather that we get, water and blowing in the wind, it's going to find a way. it's a very easy for water to penetrate your house. I mean, it doesn't take a lot with the conditions that we have down here. And once it's in, it's a matter of time with the heat. You're going to get something.
Well, how about the storm surge? I mean, that was another thing, right?
Wow.
You're looking at like Reddington Shores, Indian Rocks Beach, all these different homes that had that, that black water, Category 3 water, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that came in, and you have all kinds of stuff in there, and now it's made the actual materials wet. They didn't jump on it, and now they have mold behind the baseboards,
boy.
all over. So you wind up with a toxic mess, and that's a real issue. You got to kind of gut the whole place.
Brandon Faust, Mold Zero. How to get in touch with you. If you're listening out there and you need Brandon.
Yep, 727-900-7202. They call that number. We have great office staff. They'll take care of them, get them on the schedule. We'll do a walkthrough, free walkthrough.
Moldzero.com?
Yeah. That's right, moldzero.com. They can also send us a message through there as well.
You got social tags, Facebook, anything like that?
Of course, yeah. On Instagram and Facebook, we're there. I
Check
think
them
it's
out.
Mold Zero.
Mold Zero. That's Brandon Faust. Great job today, Brandon. Thanks for coming in. We want to encourage everybody out there to commit a random act of kindness. And I want to thank Brandon Rhymes for allowing me to substitute in and sit in his chair today. He'll be back before you know it. And don't go anywhere. The Consumer Quarterback Show is always available for you online at consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play. Contact Brandon Rhymes at 813-670-7372. That's 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com. And join us next time for The Consumer Quarterback Show.